Welcome to the WSL Post Show. Round one is a wrap. Some big performances from the world's best, some stumbles from the top seed, and it sets up a very interesting second round. But there was some magic performances, and we're going to break them down now. Strider Wozlewski and Ross Williams joining me. Strider, what sticks out for you as the highlight moment of today?
There was a few. I think obviously John, his performance out there was amazing. I liked Gabriel hunting around, but my favorite was the end right there with Adam Melling just coming away with one of the highest heat scores of the day and just threading the needle on his first wave and then just getting that deep drop just on the ledge and pulling it up and just making it look so easy. Are you kidding me?
He made it look good, didn't he?
Mello! Love you.
He's on the way up, Adam Melling, but Ross, also some tricky heats for the top seeds. I mean, Matt Wilkinson, we knew this event would be difficult for him, and it looks like it's going to be a real challenge. He's now going to have to overcome two wildcards, two dangerous surfers, if he wants to even make the fourth round.
Yeah, it's brutal. It's going to be tough for him, and you know, on paper, as analysts, you know, we can always kind of have these kind of guesstimates of what's going to happen, but it really did pan out that that's what happened. Gabriel and John kind of dominated today, and Wilco had a little bit of some struggles out there. I don't think he looked bad, but it really is about wave choice and making sure you get in the right zone, especially on a day like today when it's kind of slow. You had to have that good rhythm, and there was always kind of one guy per heat that had that rhythm today.
Do you still believe that Matt Wilkinson can go on to a big result here, Strider, and overcome those tough wildcards?
It's going to be tough. The reality is the size of the waves are benefiting him, yet he's got two really hard guys to go through. Hira is an animal out there, and Bruno's won the event. I mean, really, these are going to be the two biggest heats of his life. If he's going to win a world title, he's going to do it right here in Tahiti this year, and he's going to have to make it through and finish higher than John and Gabriel and keep a hold of that jersey because it's going to slip away otherwise. It's
going to be a long road. Still a lot of events left on the schedule. Adam Melling turning around a pretty tricky start to the year for him. A big performance here in the first round in Tahiti. Let's hear from the winner of the last heat of round one.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. Waited all day, last heat of the day, and the highest single score, 967, highest scoring wave of the day. Talk us through that wave.
Yeah, it was, it lurked out of nowhere. There's a really west one, the first one. I was like, oh, there could be something behind this. And yeah, it stood right up out of the channel, and I got a bit of air on the drop. I was like, whoa, it was a bit choppy, but yeah, that thing was wide open. I was pretty stoked to get that one.
What's the routine today, knowing that you're going to be in the last heat of the round? So it's a lot of anticipation for you throughout the day.
Yeah, well, the boys got up early at 5 and went out early. But I slept in. And yeah, got a bit of sleep, rested up because I knew it was going to be a long day with 35-minute heat. So yeah, there's a bit of banter going on in the A-frame where I stand. So yeah, it's good. It's always entertaining in there.
Yeah, cheerleader over there, Kai Houghton's giving you some congrats, man. Yeah. So hey, everybody, congratulations to Adam Melling on to round number 3 with an inspiring performance out there. Yeah. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Kaipo, and it was a solid heat score total, the second biggest of that first round, 17.61 for Melling, and he makes the jump past round 2 into round 3, and it is a rare jump for Melling, so that's an important and crucial victory for him, trying to get back into the top 22 to maintain a place on the championship tour. The surfer, though, that outscored him with the highest heat score total of the round and with some highlight moments was John Florence. You just come to expect those magic performances here in Tahiti.
Yeah, John's just on another level, and I think one of the things that he does so well, he lets go of his rail and he gets that extra pump in. So John can kind of get the best of both worlds. He can drag his body if he wants to slow down, or he can take off really deep and get that pump. And you know, he kind of put that on display today.
Well, we saw the 3-2-1 on the ratings performing in that sequence, in that order. It was Medina who went out first, and despite the fact that he didn't have one of the highest heat score totals of the round, he just looked so comfortable and solid, and even though his heat score total wasn't massive, he still blitzed his rivals.
Well, he did. He's just hunter-gatherer. He finds everything he needs. He's looking for waves that other guys don't really look at and just weaving through that inside corner. That wave right there, look at that. Are you kidding me? He almost pulled that. I mean, he's 10 feet out doing a full rotor. I mean, the guy's out of control, having fun, and he's hunting around the inside, and then you've got this kid just hula hooping through waves. I mean, come on.
Didn't it just feel like a huge pressure building kind of sequence of heats leading to Matt Wilkinson's battle. You saw Medina, he just looked in control. We mentioned that his numbers weren't huge, but then John went out and put on the performance of the day, and then Matty had to go out and try and replicate what they were doing. But John looking very sharp.
Yeah, no chance for Wilco to get up against that.
Let's talk a little bit about technique. Both of your excellent scores didn't grab the rail. What's the advantage of not hanging onto that rail on the backhand?
I don't know. I kind of just did it. I just didn't really think about it. Just kind of, I think I needed to get speed or something, and so I just kind of went to pump, and it was just such an open, perfect barrel. So, yeah.
It's no mystery. You're a favorite here. Feeling any pressure on being the favorite out here?
No, I don't. There's no pressure at all. I mean, we get to go surf perfect barrels with two other guys out. I think that's insane. The last couple of days have been pretty packed, and everyone's like real squished into the lineup, and just to be out there and kind of just freely open to go on some good waves, it's pretty insane. And so if anything, I'm more excited than pressured.
And we'll see if the pressure starts to build as John moves through the rounds, because we know he hasn't made the final heat here in Tahiti, so I think that pressure does start to get to him with the expectation that he should do well at locations like this. But, you know, the story of the scores throughout the day, it doesn't necessarily tell the story of each of those heats. Matt Wilkinson didn't perform too badly, despite the fact that he didn't get the heat win. He was just in a heat with Bruno. It was slow. Bruno's heat score totals were pretty low too.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where you're all in the same sandbox. You try and find the right waves. I feel like after those two heats that Wilco had to watch, he was a little bit shaken a bit. I mean, he didn't look in the water like he was freed up, and his mind space looked like he was ready. I heard you talking about it, Ross, where he needed to kind of drive off of those performances and bring them on and say, okay, that's good, I can go out there and I can get that. And I felt like he kind of almost like worked against him a bit. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to overcome that. But you're right, you know, Ronnie, he did get some really nice rides. He threaded a couple barrels.
Just totally different looking conditions compared to what we saw when we were looking at John's highlights, Ross.
Yeah, it was. It was a tough heat. The waves weren't, you know, to pick apart his performance is kind of rough for Wilco. That being said, I almost think if the waves were big, it'd be better for Wilco, because it's more of a black and white situation where you're just waiting for a big old slab, you take off and get pitted. On a day like today, you got to be really clever. You have to find those waves that build up on the ledge and are actually hollow. You have to sniff those waves out, just like Gabriel did, and Bruno. You know, it wasn't an accident that Bruno got the best two waves out there. The guys that are really good at Chopu, they know how to find those double ups, the ones that are kind of those fat barrels.
And that was kind of the story throughout the day. All the sort of predictable winners came through with the goods, despite the fact there were slow heats. We saw a lot of those popular fantasy surfing picks winning through directly to the third round. Bruno was one of them.
Yeah, definitely. You know, like you said, the heat scores were really low in that heat, but there was definitely, you know, opportunities out there. I think actually Bruno outran his barrel a bit, you know, but maybe he's riding a little longer equipment too, so that could have been part of that, kind of getting out in front of it. But it's gonna really, the judges want to see these guys suck back into that bowl as deep as possible, and then they're gonna get into the excellent range scores. But I feel like Bruno is probably one of the most dangerous guys in the draw, up against you know, even John and Gabriel.
Based on finishes, you can see there's some pretty interesting outcomes that could come our way at the end of this contest. Obviously, if John places a couple of spots higher than Matt Wilkinson in this event, he can seize the Jeep Leaders jersey going into Trestles, a contest where he's had some success in the past. But Medina is also going to be ultra dangerous as he plows through the rounds here as well.
Yeah, it's so fun to look at. And we heard our good buddy Aki on the desk this morning talk about how it's a three-man race, and it really is kind of feeling that way. Of course, there's a couple dangerous guys further down the ratings that could join the party if they get a couple of wins, but you know, it's no secret Wilco is an underdog. Even though he has the yellow jersey on, he is leading. Gabriel and John, they're so talented, and then they can back that up. Now John, as well as Gabriel, can back that up with you know, clever decision-making in heats and have tight, clean heats, you know, every event and be consistent. It's going to be really tough for Wilco to hold on to this yellow jersey.
Definitely. One of the other star performers today in the first round, a former winner, Adrian Buchan, is now going to give us his version of the GoPro breakdown.
It's definitely one of the most picturesque places you can ever come in the world, and obviously an amazing wave that we get to compete on. so in your face and so powerful. It's a kind of freak of nature, and it's a place that really tests you as a surfer. Teahupo'o is all about the barrel. That's why you come here. You dream about getting a huge, big barrel. You know, you're lining yourself up with these huge 1,000-foot kind of pyramid-type mountains that kind of rise up straight behind the ocean. The wave itself is just, you know, it's so magical, the way it comes in and bends, and it breaks with kind of such power and force. When you are standing in one of those barrels and you get shot out into the channel with a spit, there's not many better feelings in surfing. Every year to come back and surf against the world's best at arguably, you know, the world's most famous and intimidating wave is something pretty special.
Well, welcome back. We've been talking about the big performers from the opening day of competition here at the Billabong Pro Tahiti, and we couldn't exclude the most winning surfer here at this location. Kelly Slater looking really sharp, had a bit of a slow start in his round one effort, but came home pretty strong with a 9-point ride. Turned up late, ploughed through the round. He's into round three, looks sharp.
It's just like the guy shows up at the airport. You know, he's got an 11:40 flight. He shows up at 11:10. Makes his flight, gets here, just barely gets. I mean, this guy just, I don't understand how he does it over and over again, but he hasn't been winning. And maybe this is the event where he turns it around and he starts winning again, because he hasn't been surfing either since J-Bay. Maybe a couple little longboard waves, you know, in Florida or back in Malibu, but just plowing through barrels.
It's just kind of how he operates. That's how it's been, you know, forever, for the last 30 years. He likes to go to his own beat, and that includes showing up late and just being kind of trippy. But, you know, you're right. He hasn't been winning heats this year as much as he's used to, and winning events. So I don't know if he can get away with it, except at places like Teahupo'o, Pipe, and Fiji. That's where he's so comfortable. He knows how to win. It was kind of a funny heat, though, Ronnie. He was a little, you know, flustered there. Had the feathers ruffled. Him and Michelle got into it a little bit, but he ended up getting his scores in the end.
Just getting the scores that he needed. 15-point heat score total. And Michelle wasn't too far behind, was he? And we'll probably be having a close look at that heat on the heat analyzer later on, just to see where the judges were at with it.
It's going to sting Michelle a bit, because he's really never had the finish here he's wanted, and you know, for him to be from here, local, and not be able to produce, you know, a win or a final, to really take it to that next level, it's got to be just killing him inside. And so, you know, to lose right there, even though it's Kelly Slater, it's still burns, still stings.
He's never made it past that 5th round into the quarterfinals here, Michelle, which is interesting.
Incredible. Yeah, it's weird, you know, and sometimes there's surfers like that from Hawaii as well. You'd think, oh, a guy's from Hawaii, he must charge, and then sometimes there's not. You know, sometimes you're just kind of born that way. And Michelle is almost more of a performance surfer. But you know, back to Kelly real quick. I think for him, he can show up at places like this, and he doesn't have to worry about performing and blowing his tail and doing errors. He just simply gets barreled. He can do that in his sleep. So even though he's had a rough year, he could still win this event.
Definitely. Some amazing heats established in that second round. Make sure you tune in via the app and have a look at that second round. We know Matt Wilkinson's going to have a huge test up against the French Polynesian surfer here at Teahupo'o. It's going to be interesting to see if he can fight his way out of that one. But make sure you tune in nice and early tomorrow morning to see if we get competition back underway. Right now, though, we'll leave with you with the day's highlights.
This copyrighted event broadcast is produced by the World Surf League for broadcast around the world and may not be retransmitted, reproduced, rebroadcast, or otherwise distributed or used in any form without the written consent of the World Surf League. Good morning and welcome back to paradise here on the beautiful island of Tahiti at the end of the road at a spot named Teahupo'o.
Well, some movement in the lineup here. Geordie Smith. He makes a move, grabs that rail, stalling now, dragging his body in the wall of the wave, spat from that tube, and just gliding with all that style. Well, we've got a decent looking wave standing up here, and trying to get in a position for it is Italo, and he's right where he wants to be, and he just pulls into a gaping cavern.
Kai Otten just without priority pulling under the hood on a lengthy tube ride. Medina now live action, roller coastering through the tube, just kept that rail lively and just driving himself to the exit.
Well, here goes John, letting go of that rail, pumping into the tube. He's still going. Oh, Johnny!
He's bombed the one wave, and now look at him. He's going to be paddling into this one. A beautiful wave off the bottom, pump, no hand, standing tall, spits him out clean. I mean, just absolutely beautiful surfing.
We talk about the world title race, and here we go. So pressure going to be heavy on Matt Wilkinson's shoulders here.
Bruno having a good look at this one. He is deep, right where he wants to be. He takes off. The onside announcer counting this one down. The heat has come to an end. Matt Wilkinson into round 2. Bruno continues his giant killing ways.
Making a move now is Kelly Slater trying to fight back for his lead. Deep on this one, the wave spits and then he comes out after it.
Oh, look at that technique. Just really pulling his knees in and staying over his board. Wanted to get that clean run.
I mean, watch Ace getting the beautiful tube ride that this place has to offer.